Good evening. I'm Belva Davis, and welcome to This Week in Northern California. Joining me on our news panel tonight are Josh Richman, Bay Area News Group's political reporter, and Jolie Odell, reporter for VentureBeat, and Carla Marinucci, political reporter with the San Francisco Chronicle, joining us from Las Vegas. Carla, we know they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but how are the Republican presidential candidates changing their message to reach voters here in Western states?
Yeah, well, Belva, you're right. First in the West caucuses in Nevada, and it is all about Western issues. The candidates are talking water and immigration, but they're also talking about issues we know in California, but that are even deeper here in Nevada. The highest unemployment rate in the nation in Nevada, the highest home foreclosure rate. This is stuff that is absolutely a theme on the campaign trail. But I have to say, when you're talking about the Nevada caucuses, you're talking about some campaign events you would never see in California. I just came from Ron Paul touring a gun store with assault weapons. I just came from Newt Gingrich in a country western bar. And yesterday it was Mitt Romney with Donald Trump in his glittery hotel. The only thing that was missing was the showgirls there. So you got a little of everything in Nevada, but the fact is this is an important stage for the West, and I think an important stage for Mitt Romney. He's expected to come in ahead, but right now it is very interesting that many of the volunteers in these caucuses are coming from California, particularly in the Ron Paul camp.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of Ron Paul's, I'm sorry. Isn't that kind of like Ron Paul's national strategy, is to pack the caucus states and get his people into the rooms wherever he possibly can?
Yeah, Josh, you've absolutely got it right. Ron Paul said he is going to fight for every vote, and it is amazing to see the turnout from California that is here for him. They are knocking on doors. They are doing phone calls. Almost every event I go to of Ron Paul is packed with Californians. Look, some of these issues are the same issues when we're talking about lower taxes, we're talking about help for small business, and of course Ron Paul has a huge following among young voters, and many of them are from the Bay Area, I have to say. So we're seeing that, and I'm wondering if he's going to be able to pull off some kind of surprise here with the kind of turnout he has. But I mean, also seeing a lot of folks from the Meg Whitman campaign working behind the scenes for Mitt Romney. I mean, this is very, very interesting to watch Californians playing in this market here in Nevada. But the fact is, the media markets are the same. A lot of the themes are the same. The way the caucuses are run, though, very, very strange and very interesting. They're going to be held at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. And that is a time that really eliminates most of the working people in a tourism-driven state. You're talking about a state where taxi drivers, waitresses, from Friday night to Sunday, that is their peak time. Many of them can't get off to go to these caucuses, and so who's going to go? Mostly senior citizens. But a lot of the experts are telling me that could skew the vote.
Carla, what about the issues, though? Are they talking about things that these people are concerned about foreclosures, about jobs? What's the message? Because the messages have been quite different, both in New Hampshire and in the Carolina.
You're absolutely right, Belvin. You were with me in New Hampshire. You saw the themes that the candidates went for there. Out here in Nevada, you're talking, Ron Paul, for instance, gun rights. You're talking about government intervention in small business. You're talking about federal management of lands. 85% of the lands here in Nevada are under the control of the Bureau of Land Management. That's a big issue here. Libertarians are very big in the Nevada political scene, and that's why I think some of the themes are much different here. And when you're talking about the West, immigration, a huge issue. We've heard Newt Gingrich pound heavily on this today. And he's been very much more aggressive, Belva, than he was in New Hampshire and elsewhere. Today, he just went after Romney as Obama light. and said that he didn't have really the values and he didn't have the campaign. He was too prone to gaffes. This is the kind of thing that we're seeing a real all-out fight here in Nevada for these caucuses, and I think it's going to impact as we go forward June in California. We'll see if Newt Gingrich and Ron Paul and even Rick Santorum can keep this thing going all the way till June and maybe California. That's what some Republicans are saying they want to see happen here.
Carla, can I ask, what have some of Mitt Romney's issues been in Nevada? I know you said he got a Trump endorsement and that was probably, I don't know, a little uncomfortable or maybe even embarrassing for him.
Julie, that was one of the more interesting campaign events I've ever seen.
Really?
To watch Donald Trump just completely overshadow Romney. And he did seem almost embarrassed to have this endorsement in a week in which Romney had, made that gaffe and said he didn't worry about poor people. To be standing next to one of the most bombastic millionaires in the country and get an endorsement. It's been a little rough for Mitt Romney here, but the fact is he has organization, not only in a campaign that's well-funded and lots of attack ads on the air, and these ads are running all through,
And what about
by the way,
Mormon
Northern
vote?
California.
Is the Mormon vote going to play a part in this?
That's exactly right. He's got a Mormon organization here that is very, very strong, and they are expected to get out the votes tomorrow. That is, he won these caucuses in 2008. He's expected to win them tomorrow, but I think a lot will be told on how big his win is and whether Ron Paul or Newt Gingrich can cut into it so much that it sort of raises questions yet again on his strength as a candidate.
Okay, so you're telling us all about the political trio. We're going to turn to something now that everybody's interested in, whether they're in Nevada or not, and that is the future of Facebook and who will make money and how much they will make. So, Jolie, tell us a little bit. When should you and I think about acquiring our stock?
Well, sadly, it's not going to be happening for me until I get out of the business. But I would say if you can get your hands on Facebook stock early, the day that it debuts on the market, I would say go for it. Go for it as soon as you can, because this stuff is going to be on the rise conservatively, at least for the next year, possibly the next 2 years. Beyond that, in technology, you know, these companies come and go, and it can happen in a moment's notice. But I don't think anybody in the tech community sees that happening to Facebook as quickly as it could happen to some other smaller companies without that much revenue and that much profit.
Give us some of the facts around it, the value of what's out there and why they expect to make what they are.
Well, what we do know, the numbers that were released in their SEC filing, is that they made just shy of $4 billion in revenue. Now that's from advertising and Facebook credits. Believe it or not, Farmville and all those silly games, they rake in money from those things. When you buy your Facebook credits to play Farmville, Facebook gets a third of that. So as the use of Facebook credits is growing, revenue from Facebook credits is growing, and as people use their Facebook profiles and they give Facebook all this data, Facebook uses that data to make very lucrative advertising products. And they're selling like hotcakes. It's a big threat to everybody else in internet advertising. So that's why I think they're going to be around for a while.
And what's this sudden bumper crop of young...
This is
sorry, Carla. What's this bumper crop of young millionaires going to mean to the Bay Area? And
well, I think you said it right there. Young millionaires. These shareholders skew younger than Google, younger than Apple. Most of these engineers, I would say, I would say on average they're in their mid-20s. Some of them younger, and I don't think they're looking to put down roots in the Bay Area and buy property right now. And I would think, look to corporate taxes for a lot of local benefit, but I wouldn't count on individuals providing the kind of revenue that California needs for the state budget. I would say if you own a Lamborghini or Rolex outfit in the Valley, you might be doing a little bit better.
Jolie, this is Carla. Look, this is a company that has really upped its profile on the political scene, too, in the last year. Mark Zuckerberg having a town hall meeting with President Obama. They hired Joe Lockhart, the Clinton spokesperson. Have they been preparing for this? Their political profile in Washington is much bigger now. What are the issues they're worried about that they are hiring lobbyists and important folks in politics to represent them Is this has to do with the IPO?
I think it does, some of it. I mean, of course, they're going to be under so much more scrutiny as a public company. They're going to be releasing numbers that we've never seen before. And people, I think, are a little bit more concerned. It's one thing when you give your data to a private company, when you give your data to a public company who knows what's going to be public. And privacy has always haunted Facebook, whether or not that's based on fear and uncertainty and doubt or fact. Privacy has always been a big issue for them, and I think it will continue to be. But when they're lobbying Congress, I think they're just trying to keep themselves as competitive as possible in the advertising game.
What have they done to quell the fears of people over the privacy issue?
Well, I think a lot of what they've done is PR, to be frank. I think the concerns over privacy are a little bit of a myth. Sometimes they're mythic and sometimes they're very real, and it's very hard to draw that line without knowing a lot of facts that, because they're a private company, we don't have those facts.
Mm-hmm. And what about the control of the company? There was some discussion about
yes. This is
this
exciting.
Was a new, this was a new ball game too.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg controls a lot of Facebook shares and the votes that go along with those shares, but somewhere in some backroom deal that he made, or a boardroom deal with some big name investors like Dustin Moskovitz, a Facebook co-founder, Sean Parker, a very prominent early employee, and even some of the biggest venture firms in Silicon Valley and in the world, DST, Excel, he got them to take their equity, but he got to keep the voting rights. And the minute any of those people sells those shares, the voting rights for those shares, they go from 10 votes per share to 1 vote per share, so he still retains control. He has this huge block of voting power, and it will let him control the Facebook board for the foreseeable future until he himself dies or divests.
Okay, your best guess. How long will they stay hot?
My best guess?
Yes.
You know what? If I had to lock some of my money away in Facebook, I would take it out in 2 years just to be safe.
Just to be safe.
Just to be safe, because with these big social media companies like MySpace, right? We saw these guys start to slide downward and eventually they crashed. But it took a long time and you could see it coming a mile away. And I think with Facebook, they're just as large and it's going to be, or they're much larger, and it's going to be the same long, slow Zeppelin plunge down to the ground.
Well, thanks, Jolie. There's some interesting stuff here. Lots of interesting stuff going on in Oakland. Lots of news this week out of Oakland, Josh.
Yeah, not quite so positive as the last segment. Yeah, an Occupy Oakland march and demonstration last week turned into, as you called it at the top of the show, a melee. More than 400 people were arrested, the biggest mass arrest that the county has seen in 30 years. There have been accusations hurled around on both sides. The protesters say that the police acted, with undue and excessive force, and the police pointed out that the protesters came and tore down fences and threw things at officers and had reinforced corrugated metal shields that they were advancing on police lines with. So it's pretty ugly. The 12 people have been charged with criminal offenses so far, and they've taken the unusual step of getting stay-away orders for these dozen people. 11 of them have now been served with these orders, that they cannot come within 100 yards of Frank Ogawa Plaza or the Kaiser Auditorium near Lake Merritt, which was the site of the initial clashes last week. And this is raising a lot of eyebrows. I mean, civil libertarians have some concerns that this is an infringement upon constitutional rights to keep protesters away who have not yet been convicted of these crimes of which they're accused. And there's also some practicality concerns about, what if they, what if they ignore these orders, get arrested again? It's going to just continue to build sympathy for the cause. They don't have any money that the city can take. All of this happens against the backdrop of a city that's financially struggling. I mean, the city council this week found a way to make its $28 million in budget cuts that were necessitated by the loss of the redevelopment funds that we've talked about here on the show before. 80 layoffs are happening this month in city government, not in the police department, but elsewhere. And it's very hard for the city to swallow the costs week after week of dealing with these things. It's ultimately the city that's paying for it. So.
Yeah, and
Josh,
Go ahead, Carla.
Sorry, Belva. Josh, here's the question. There have been some reports. I mean, how far is Occupy Oakland going to go? Some of these reports suggest that their next goal may be to try to take over the Oakland airport at some point. And we've asked Governor Jerry Brown this before. Does the National Guard get called in on some of this? I mean, how far can this be taken with these organizers?
Yeah, well, I think it remains to be seen how far they're going to want to go, because I think they're starting to lose a lot of people along the way. I've seen a lot of, not just in our mass media, but in blogs and other places where occupiers are communicating this week. There's a lot of frustration with the guy who stood up and said, well, if you don't do this, we're going to take over the airport, because they don't think that that's a viable goal or even a useful goal. And frankly, there's polling out this week that shows that a lot of people, even self-identified liberals, are shying away from the movement now. They may have supported it initially when it was really focused on economic inequality, but if it becomes a weekly opportunity to provoke the police, a lot of people don't really have any interest in doing that, and they also don't have any interest in the idea of occupying vacant buildings in order to create a headquarters.
It's strange. These two stories are coming together.
Yeah. Do you get any sense that the Occupy Oakland movement itself is losing momentum?
I think it's going to start losing bodies, if nothing else. I think people are going to start to wonder why they're out there after a while, because I think the message is kind of getting lost. There's a lot of question. When people break into City Hall, as they did last week, and smash a children's art exhibit and burn an American flag on the steps. I mean, what is that saying? What is it accomplishing? Who are you fighting by doing that?
It's a very dark message.
It's really a very dark message, and I don't think it's a kind of a murky message, more so. I don't think it's clear as to what it. I don't think they're identifying very well what it is they think they're fighting for.
And Oakland took a step of appointing a permanent chief also.
Yes.
One who's been around.
Amid all of this tumult, the guy who's been interim chief since October, Howard Jordan, who's actually presided over the police tactics of recent months, is now the permanent police chief. He's a 24-year veteran of the department, has good ties with the rank and file, a good bond with Mayor Kwan, which was the lack of such a bond is why the previous chief left. And he's coming into this with a department that's down a lot of officers in recent years, and he's got this to contend with, and he's under the watchful eye of a federal judge. So we'll see how he copes with it.
Well, we should add on the budget news, there was good news for some of the social programs and children's programs.
Yes, that's right. Amid all those budget cuts, the Oakland Zoo and Children's Fairyland managed to escape the very deep 40% cut in their city funding that they were going to get. Unfortunately, as I said, there are 80 city workers who will be out of work as of the middle of this month. So it's happy news for some, not so happy for others.
Well, lots of news in Oakland this week. Thanks, Josh.